Contemporary
There we go.
artistic.
I can see it now. Yes.
5-star. A wet day on the beach. Silver.
Right. Well, what I like about this image is I like the overall feel, and certainly the idea is a great one. And to see our members starting to explore this type of avenue is actually quite encouraging. And there's a couple of issues that I think has let the image down, or also in the foreground is sort of out of place. It's very sharp, and then the rest is all blurry. So either have it all sharp, clear that you can see, or all blurry. So I think just play around and see if you crop off that bottom bit that's a little bit more sharp, and then all of a sudden the whole image makes a lot more sense, because it's all of the same feel and processing all that. And then if you look on the left-hand side, you'll see that there's a little bit of processing issue where that piece sort of protrudes in that brown piece and all that. So it's not quite in keeping, and I think just a little bit more practice and playing around with it, I think it would be a nice image.
Macro. LCB Detroit, 5-star. Phantom, flutterer, doing something. Gold award.
Well done, LCB. This is really a stunning macro image. What is so lovely about this image is that you've managed to get your lens virtually parallel with the dragonfly. And with the result, it is sharp from the tip of its nose, if you can call it a nose, or its little bit of feeler, right to the end where the tail is. And a considerable amount of the wing is sharp as well. So that is really lovely. It makes it so pleasing to the eye. You've got no distracting blurry parts, and the exposure is really good. You don't have blown out highlights. You haven't got nothing. You've really, really done well with this image. Well done.
The next category is monochrome. 5-star. Sibling shenanigans. Silver.
Right, well, it's one of those wow, look at the baby images, and judging what we see. So I like the texture and I like the story. What I particularly like is I like the tusk coming in from the left hand or the right hand side. It sort of helps you draw your attention to the baby there. So how would I improve it? I think it maybe you need to lift the mid tones a bit. It seems to be a wee bit dark. And then seeing that you've cropped the Ellie on the right-hand side, I would actually crop the Ellie on the left-hand side right up to the bum area. So if you remove that sort of background, and even if you sort of amputate part of the rear legs of the Ellie there, it will just draw your attention right to the important part, and that's the part of having fun.
Van Berens, Master Bronze, Stadium Roof in Mono, Gold Award.
Well done, Fawn. I really, really love this image. This is such a good example of what we want when we talk about mono, because you've got your beautiful lines, you've got parallel lines, you've got circles, you've got curves, you've got your contrast between the light and the dark. I love the way you've got the variety, this huge range of your tones from the darks to the lights. So you kind of like ticked all the boxes. But then on top of it all, you've made it this abstracty type of image, which goes down so well with monochrome, because now you concentrate on the shapes and the lines and that, and there's no distracting colors to take your mind off anything. So well done. This is a lovely image.
LCB Detroit, 5-star, Biker Chick, Gold Award.
Okay, there we go. Let me try again. Well done, Elsie. I enjoy this image. It's one of those sort of almost image that you would see in the back of a magazine promoting something. So how did you manage to achieve it? I think the fact that the model's eyes are pin sharp and it just draws you in, and then you're surrounded by the actual helmet, and although you have the stealth sign above the eyes, it's not that obtrusive. It actually just brings your eyes back to the important part, and that's the eyes of the model. Pin sharp, alluring, there's some mystique there. I enjoy the image. It's a great one. Love it.
2-star, cat in monochrome, silver.
Yes, I really enjoyed this image. I really like the close crop. I like the texture, I like the detail, and I like the fact that you converted it to monochrome. Because possibly on the right-hand side, your lights were a bit blown out. But once converted to monochrome, it doesn't become distracting. It creates a lovely contrast in the background and your subject. I think possibly why it didn't get a high score is you have got a little bit close to the eye on the right-hand side. You could just give it a little bit more space, because it starts making one feel a bit uncomfortable. It's almost as like you're going to lose some of that eye. So just be careful about that. Just a little bit more space there. And then possibly pull back. Maybe your lights are a little bit light, or you've over-clarified. I'm not sure, but the fur has become almost like it's thickening slightly. It's becoming almost waxy. So I'm not sure how that's happened. Maybe the cat was a little bit wet. Maybe it's been grooming itself. I'm really not sure. Maybe you've over-contrasted. But I think the main reason is your crop just a little bit close to the eye. So maybe recrop, try again.
2-star, kudu calf, silver.
Okay, so what is silver? All right, so I think this would make a very good portrait with a slightly different crop. So if you could crop just behind in front of the lines on the rib cage, then you have a lot more focus on the actual animal. So the exposure is good on the animal, and that's good. The depth of field is really where you start playing around and bringing the subject into better focus or separate from the background. So in this case, the background does compete a bit. So being a monochrome, you can actually tone that down. And if you have been playing around with the latest version of Lightroom, you can actually go in there, select the subject, you can then invert it, and then you can play around with the background and darken it and do whatever you like. So I suggest you give that a try. Just start the crop and play around with the background. Interested to see what you come up with.
The next category is nature. 4-star, cheetahs communicating, silver award.
What a lovely story we have here. It's just so pleasing to see something like this, and so wonderful to know that the author was there and that you managed to see this and you managed to capture this. So well done. I love the action. I love the fact that you captured the moment. And unfortunately, you've got so many elements that are creating a bit of a distraction here. So, first of all, I feel that the twigs and the grass and the colours and all that are really sort of like drawing the attention away from this lovely, lovely action and this lovely subject. I'm sure you must have taken more images. Maybe you managed to zoom in a little bit closer. maybe that cheetah standing above, when you turn his head slightly towards you, because we really not see much of their faces. It's more sort of like the rear part. I get the feeling that the rear part of this main cheetah is the part that's in focus, that's sharp. It's definitely sharper than the head. So if you could have focused, and you can see it on the branch, on the tree as well, if you could have focused more on the head of the main cheetah and possibly zoomed in or got a bit closer, I think it might have been a stronger image.
This category is Nature Wildlife. Tim Gould, Master Bronze, Into the Light, Gold Award.
Well done, Tim. One of those images that sort of grabbed you immediately. So it's a clever play or use of the light. And that was the way the subject's lit up, the jackal. It's coming into the light, so it gives it a little bit of a sort of airy feeling. But the jackal is pin sharp. There's movement. It's paws up in the air, so it's not static. And I like the actual crop. I like the panoramic crop. It just gives it some depth. Background not intrusive at all. No, great image. Well done.
Charmaine Finter, 5-star, Black Creek Dance, Gold Award.
Yes, lovely, Charmaine. Well done. I just love the fact that you're at a low angle. I like the fact that the background is so nicely diffused. Beautiful, beautiful out of focus background. And you've got your eye mainly on the subject. I like the fact that you've got the eye nice and sharp. So why not a higher mark? I think, first of all, it's a slightly bull's-eye shot. I feel if you'd sort of focused, maybe sort of pulled sort of your subject is a little bit to the left, so it's not quite in the middle. But what I found most distracting is that it appears that the water, if you look at the line of the water it's going at an angle. So it appears that the water is running down and running out of the picture. Terribly important when you have a water line, like a dam or something, to make sure that it is straight, because otherwise it appears that your image is skewed. It might not have been. You've got to correct. There could be a curve, it could be anything. So make sure that you correct that so that it doesn't draw your eye away from your subject and cause a distraction.
2-star, Great White Egret, Silver.
Yeah, I actually like the action. Always a bonus when you catch it, the bird fishing around and coming up with its catch. The exposure on the bird is actually very good. So obviously you've got that sorted out. So again, why not a higher mark? So the background is actually quite distracting in this case. Now, I know we talk about that you have to control your depth of field, you have to limit the influence of the background. But in this case, the colors are actually sort of competing against that. But that all is acceptable because that's what you find when you're out there taking it. So I just think that the croc at the bottom is too tight. So if you consider the length of the bird's legs and all that, then it means that the talons are actually below the line. So that's something to look at. So hopefully you've got this image and you have more room below it. Let's always leave enough room for the imagination. Where would the feet be? Where would the bottom of the legs be? And in this case, it seems to be amputated, although it's not. But that's what the mind tells you. It's a little bit uncomfortable.
Kathy K, Master Gold, Black-Shouldered Kite with Mouse, Gold Award.
Yeah. Well, what do we say? The score tells it all. So what have we got here? We've got a bird in action with its prey. Composition is great, lightly diagonal. And with the thorns on the bottom, there actually places the animal. So it's not in the air, there's nothing being taken out. That's how you find them in the wild. So well captured, well exposed, nice sharp action.
Mm.
Rona Salshop, Master Bronze, On the Alert, Gold Award.
That's, yeah.
Well done, Rona. This is a lovely image. I love the pacing of the subject. I love the fact that you get a little bit of space where it's walking from. The tail creates a lovely leading line. The subject has just turned its face, caught the lights. So although you've got this bit of shadow on the body, the face and the head beautifully lit up with lovely light in the eyes, and you've got this lovely space for your cheetah to walk into. So yes, although you've got a lot of background, it doesn't put me off at all. I find it places it. This is where the cheetahs live. It gives you such a wonderful idea of the terrain and where this cheetah is. And because the cheetah is so sharp and the exposure is so beautiful on this cheetah, it works well done.
On Barons, Master Bronze, Sacred Ibis, Gold Award.
Congratulations on the award, Fine. It's a beautiful image. So first of all, the exposure on those whites is spot on. There's nothing overexposed. There's detail in the shadows, texture, there's movement. And I'm always about the separation of the background. And there's a good example of what I was trying to get to. Well done, well handled.
Jacques Salshop, Master Silver, Only Child, Merit Award.
Wow, great score, Jacques, and stunning image. It's just such good light, first of all. I love the exposure. I love the fact that you've got so much detail. So although the mother subject behind it is sharp as well, it doesn't detract from the image. It actually forms as like protection. And the way the leg is like almost wanting to protect this little baby baboon. I think it's a baboon. And I love the fact too, I like the fact that the mother's been excluded, and because that just draws the attention straight to this beautiful little subject. The eyes are pin sharp, they've got a lovely light in the eyes. It really is a lovely image. Well done.
Joan Darcy, 3-star. What a hot day for a tired leopard, Merit Award.
Oh, lovely image, John. Beautiful. And a great score for this image. So even though its eyes are closed, it just tells you everything about this animal. The yawn, the fangs, the hairs on its nose, the separation from the background, exposure, everything. Great image, great close-up. Well done.
Ian Taylor, Master Bronze, Pied Kingfisher Woods Fish, Merit Award.
Ian, you've done it again. Your bird photography is truly lovely, and you seem to have found the perfect spot. This really is a lovely image. I love the fact that everything is pin sharp here. Your whites are so well handled, the blacks are well handled, the fish is pin sharp, you've got a light in the eye, the background is beautifully diffused. And although it's standing on a massive branch or something like that, because you've cropped most of the branch out, what it served to do is actually act as a lead in to your image now. So instead of drawing attention away, it's actually drawing your eye towards the bird. So your this is lovely. Well done.
Julie Eisenbach, 2-star, Kudu Bull, Gold Award.
Julie, so I like the pose. I mean, they're so majestic, these animals, when you do see them, and with that pose, it's just beautiful. So the exposure on the kudu is great. The background is earlier mentioned as part of the scene, so you expect to see that. In fact, you're quite fortunate, I think, to see that far away from the bush, because that's where they're comfortable. I think to improve this image, I would actually give it more room below. It's very tight there, although you do see all four of the hooves and all that. I think a little bit more space underneath that would really enhance it. And then maybe a crop on the right there, on the left hand side, there's a dead tree or branch at the back there, and you just crop that out and give it a little bit more space for the animal to look into, then I think it will get a better score.
Andres Borman, Master Bronze, Wings, Gold Award.
Super. Andres, super. Really lovely. The fact that you've caught it in flight, you've managed to capture this in such beautiful light. And of course, when the light is like this, it's quite hard to get a high shutter speed. So you obviously have very, very good control of your camera and your settings, that you were able in this light to get a high enough speed. So well done. So all in all, it's made for a fantastic image. Just be a little bit careful. The lines that are going across here are going at a very awkward angle. So if you have to just straighten it so that they're parallel, it'll make this such a stronger image. So before you enter this in a salon, just straighten your image so that you can, it just enhance this image tremendously.
Henry Opper, Master Silver, marking his spot, Gold Award.
Lovely image, Henry. Beautiful. I love the placing of the subject. As Henry was saying earlier, it's nicely placed on the third, as you can see. There's room below, so it's not too tight against those the talons that are sticking out. And you've got a bit of room on the top. I love the fact that you've got the eyes, you've got light in the eye, and it's well placed. It's telling a beautiful story where it is, obviously in a tree or something plain. So I find that those branches on the left add value to the story. They don't actually distract, mainly because your exposure on this cheetah and the sharpness from the tip of its tail all the way to its nose is so thin and sharp. Well done. It's a lovely image.
Thank you.
5-star, Heron After Bath, Silver.
This is one of those images there that you say, oh, gosh, almost got it. So if you look at the colors, if you look at the exposure on the bird, the perch that it's sitting on, the colors, the orange, everything is there. It's sharp on the back, and then you come to the front of the head and all that, and yes, I know that it's shaking its head, but it's just a little bit soft, unfortunately, and hopefully you have a sequence of these. If you had to concentrate on sharpening anything, it would be the head. That's where I would sort of try and after processing, maybe see if you can do something about that, because that's really what spoils it. The droplets, everything just plays an important part of the image.
Kathy K, Master Gold, Slipping in the Mud, Merit Award.
Oh, well, Kathy is just one of those great images. So, first of all, the lighting and the exposure is spot on at this overnight high. But what I particularly like is that each of the buffalo has a different appearance. They're looking at a different angle, away, but the one that steals the show is really the crop. Because he caught some movement, it's obviously reacted to some noise or whatever, lifted its head, and you have the droplets. And that sort of gives you the movement that one often wants in this type of image. Lovely image, well done.
Joan Darcy, 3-star, water off a duck's back, gold award.
Right, yes, you see, just a duck, just in the jam, and there you are. Joan's got a gold. So get out there and take these images and get it right. So what did Joan do right here in the gold? Well, first of all, the head and the eye and all that is really, really pin sharp. And that's what we want. Joan is obviously focused on the head. She's got that right. She has given space for the duck to move into. But what really makes it so lovely is the way this water is folding, putting this like sheet blanket as it's coming off the duck. And then you've got that large droplet from the beak. It could have just been a duck there. It could have been a boring image, but it's that water and what the water's doing and how Joan has put the moment that has lifted this image above the other images. And that's well done, Joan. Good one.
Ian Taylor, Master Bronze, grasshopper for breakfast, gold award.
Well done, Ian. Very interesting image. You have all these contrasting colors. So you have the lilac, the roller always has these beautiful colors that complement each other. And then you have the grasshopper, the prey in its beak. And that's the action and the movement that we want. So perch again, beautiful perch. It comes in and it leaves and it doesn't compete with the main action. So exposure, everything is well handled, placement, everything as we require. Well done.
Henry Opel, Master Silver, swooping tawny eagle, gold award.
Yes, lovely. What I liked about this image is that so often these eagles are photographed from below because they fly above. And this eagle was actually below. It was at a lower angle than the photographer and the camera. And that is lovely. And when that happens, you so often will get such a distracting background. And yet the background has been so beautifully muted. It just tells a story, it gives you an idea where it is. You can see it's somewhere very dry, very brown. It blends in beautifully, but the exposure on this bird, the fact that the eye is sharp, there's a light in the eye and a lovely angle of the bird. This is what adds value to this image. Well done.
Kathy K, Master Gold, Lana after Target, Merit Award.
Well, I hate this image just because it's not mine. So everything that Kathy said, taking a bird in flight takes some skill. Taking it when it's above you and getting the exposure and the focus right is really where you show off your ability and understanding of the camera and equipment that you have. So this one ticks all the boxes. Compositionally, it's strong. You have the wings that are sort of diagonal lines coming in from the left and from the bottom. And the detail in the bird is spot on. Works very, very well with the blue sky. It stands out. Well done, Kathy. Nice image. Hate it.
Henry Opel, Master Silver, close call, Merit Award.
Now I'm jealous. This is such a lovely image. The best part about this image is the action. That's what we look for all the time. Storytelling value and the action here is really incredible. There's so much that's going on here. Not only is the jackal about to nab his meal, as you can see with that mouth wide open, but but you can actually see the way his eye is honed in on that dove. It is just incredible how that is. Then you've got the 1 foot up, the other one's off the ground. You've got all the water splashing as he hit the water. You've got the tail up. They use that like as a rudder to balance them as they go in for the kill. So all that story is there, and that's really lovely. And then you managed to mute your background as well. Well done, Henry. Good one.
Next category is pictorial. 5-star, Cosmos, silver.
Okay, so what I like about the image is I like the way the lead-in from the bottom, with the stem of the flower going towards the stamen. Yeah, to the stamen. So why not a higher score? I think that the exposure on the whites is the main issue. If you just pull back on the exposure on that, on the whites and all of a sudden I would guess you would see more detail in the actual leaves and all that, but also those colours, that sort of pink mauve colour would actually become more prominent and hold one's attention. So right now, as it is, the background is actually really competes with the image, and that being on this type of open type of comment image, you can play around with the background and diffuse it all. But the main issue for me was actually the exposure on the whites.
Tim Gould, Master Bronze, Bee Eater Family, Gold Award.
Well done, Tim. There's such a lovely story going on here. This is what I just love, the angle of the eater on the left. That's sort of right now anchoring the image. Then you've got this branch that goes down to the next one, and that's forming this beautiful T. And then it meets the next one. We've got wings up, looking towards its mate. Beautiful detail in the wings. Lovely, lovely image. I really, really like it. Well done.
Can I just have a little bit of input? Great image, everything agree with Kathy. Seeing that you've put this in an open image, if you look at where the branch comes into the image, there's a little twig in the corner there.
Yeah.
and if you can just clean that up, then I think that this image will do very well, especially in the open category. So when you put something in this type of category, if this is going to be entered in a salon in the same category, my guess is that the judges are going to now look and see it's here for a reason. So obviously there's been some cleanup and processing. Let's see if we can find out where. And that little thing at the bottom there might just detract from the score that this image deserves.
Brian Regan, 2-star, South Bay Harbour, Gold Award.
Oh, lovely. Makes one want to be there. Sorry. That's Henry. You just added your word. Sorry.
Yeah, no, sorry. But I wanted to comment on this one when I first saw it. So it's really one of those sort of chocolate box covers, images that you see. So I think the score could be far higher if you just lift the exposure. It seems to be almost like a little bit dull. And just by playing around with your levels, you can just bring up all those vibrant colors and all that. So I just look at the detail in the sky with the clouds and all that. Just by lifting your exposure, the levels and all that, you'll see all of that pop up. And this image will come alive. So please go and play around with that and do that.
Master Bronze, Skimmer at Dawn, silver.
Yes, wow. I mean, if you look at the colors here, if you look at the sky, if you look at this subject matter, wow, this really is superb, beautiful, lovely. So why not? To be honest, when I first looked at it, I thought it was a bit soft. It doesn't appear that soft when Akasha has put it on the screen, but it definitely, when it was downloaded, I just felt it needed to be sharpened because the background is so vibrant that because it wasn't sharp enough, the background actually overtook it, actually competed with it. Whereas if it was sharper and it would stand up more against the background. And remember, it's been entered in the pictorial, in the open. So you have to make sure when you enter a nature image into a pictorial that it's perfect. Otherwise, the judges start looking and thinking, why is it not entered in wildlife or nature? And as Henry said earlier, you start then nitpicking as that or looking, and that's where it needs to be pin sharp. So I would just go and sharpen this image.
Elizabeth Troy, 5-star. Quo Vadis, Gold Award.
LCB, well done. I found this image very, very interesting and must compliment you in that obviously a lot of thought went into this. And so the way the model is posing and looking at himself, this could have gone both either way. You could have either had the model facing you at the back being out of focus and the focus being in the mirror. So I think a couple of options that you could have had here, but as presented, it's a very, very interesting image and you're actually wondering what this person is thinking. And that's the way I look at it. And the fact that you didn't put in a border on this actually doesn't affect me or worry me at all. I think it just blends in beautifully. Very, very interesting image. Well done.
Shark Selshop, Master Silver. You go first, Gold Award.
Yeah, wow. This tells such a story. These huge waves with these two, don't know how young they are, youngsters, contemplating whether or not they are going to risk these waves for a surf. I really, really just love the story. And I love the sea and the energy and the motion and the movement and the hesitancy. It's so obvious against this rushing turmoil of the water. Jacques, I just feel that you've either over-sharpened or over-processed because you've got this white rim line that's going around your subject all around. If you look at their feet and their legs or something, especially along the black arm. He's got a black T-shirt on, that's what I mean. That arm there, you can see how against the white, how it stands out. So this is really a lovely image. I would just go back and just see if you can sharpen it less or contrast it less so that you lose that white line, or otherwise go and tone out those white lines. You can do that too because it's an open image. But get rid of those white lines and then you can enter in the open salon because it tells a wonderful story.
3-star. Beautiful Hoover tree bark, Silver.
Right, well, so it's one of those images that's quite interesting in that the technique applied here and the use of lighting and focus in order to spot it. So I like the lines and the shapes. I like the texture and certainly the exposure. The fact that you can actually see detail in the darker areas of the shadow really speaks volumes for your ability with the camera. I just think at this image, two things. One, there's no real center of interest. So maybe a slightly different angle, maybe convert it to mono, then start playing with the contrast. Or it's one of those images that you save for later on when you now start doing montages or what's the other word for it? Use that as a background to make a great open image. So don't throw it away, but that's really the issue with this one.
4-star, feasting vultures on giraffe kill, silver.
Yes, this is another one of those images where we will start raving about storytelling value, because there really is a lovely story going on here. In particular, you've got this vulture here on the top left-hand side, very well placed on the thirds, sitting on the carcass, watching down. He's obviously the main subject, and he's reasonably sharp. And then you've got the rest. Unfortunately, the busyness of the rest of the vultures is not adding that much value, because the one on the left-hand corner is at a very awkward pose, so you can't really find his head. The one at the bottom center, it's sort of more like a blob. The other one on the right is very much out of focus, and the one closer to the carcass also, you've got to think about turning it into vulture. So maybe it's just timing in this image, and maybe you got more where you could see more of the other vultures. I hope you took more, and I really feel you should go through your images and see if you can find that image that has got where the other vultures are not just a blob. Because remember, you've got your bottom one, he seems to be the sharpest one of them all, and you can't really identify it as a vulture. So be aware of that. The sharpest one must have more of the head and all that sort of thing. So try to mono. And all try to, as Henry said, try to mono, that might be super. Yeah, there's so much you can do, and I'm sure you've got more. So go and look at those and go and find it.
Karine Behrens, 5-star, pink on black, Merit Award.
Yeah, Karine, you really have the sunshine red tape. I mean, the exposure, the composition, everything is just spot on. The very faint border, it's the type of thing that you would hang on the wall in your study somewhere if flowers is your main interest. So, great rendition of this image, the way you presented it, and hopefully it will inspire everybody to start playing around with some flowers. Is a lot.
Michelle Pearson, 5-star, Goshawk taking off, Gold Award.
Yes, well done, Michelle. You've captured the moment so well here. Your composition is really superb. I love the droplets of water, so that's telling a story. It's obviously taken from somewhere that was wet, and you've still got the water flying as it takes off. You've got this wonderful, bright, beautiful eye that just stands out. You've got loads of detail in the feathers and in the wings. Your exposure is spot on, and you've got this really lovely muted background. Very good image. Well done.
Andres Borman. Do you want to go back, Henry?
But, if I may, yeah. So, again, just going back to an early image where I made comment about small little things, especially in this category. So, if you look at the sort of highlights on the talent, that's out of place. There's a shiny spot on the left, just above the ankle, if you want to call it there. So, little things like it, you clean that up and just tone it down a bit and all that. Then there's no reason to not give it the merit that it deserves. Sorry. Yeah.
No problem. Andres Borman, Master Bronze, Bee in the Sun, Gold Award.
Yes, lovely, lovely, lovely. I just really, really just love the colors. I love the background. I love the angle of this bee eater. It's nice and pin sharp. It's the colors are good. The exposure is good. So yes, well done. I'm not sure why you entered it in the open category. You might have good reason, you might have removed some of the background. Just be aware, if you look on the right-hand side of the colors, you've got these aberrations that are appearing. They are sort of like waves that are coming in. You know, when the sea comes in and you've got sort of like ripples, and you're getting these ripples that are coming in on your background. So seeing that it is open, it is very, very easy to clean that up. And that will automatically give you a high score. Because remember, the bird is pointing towards that direction. So that is where your eye goes. And so that part there in the top right-hand corner is so important that that is perfect. So clean that up nicely, and then it will be a far better image.
Marissa Enslin, 5-star, garlic, gold award.
Nice image, Marissa. I must compliment you on the exposure that you managed to get in the phone and the garlic. So if you look at the texture on the actual garlic itself, the pinks and all that, mauves, it is spot on. I would suggest that you maybe the base in which you put this, actually need to tone that down. This really competes directly with the image. So if you tone the foreground and the base of this image down, then this will really pop. I'm not saying remove it, I think just tone it down so that it doesn't draw one's attention away from the garlic. The composition and the lighting in this is spot on. Well done.
Brian Riggin, 2-star, Tabor Mountain with cloth, gold award.
Oh, Brian, lovely. I think you've been traveling and you've made us nostalgic for the Cape. Yes, I like your composition. I love the fact that you've got that little life. I think it's a life-saving boat or something on the bottom right hand. It's nicely separated. You've got the people with the red life jackets on. And so that is a nice point of interest. And I like the way you've angled the buildings, and then you've got this very interesting cloud over Table Mountain. Try again. This one is not as dark as your previous image, Brian, but I would also just lighten it slightly, whichever way you see fit. You can do it with curves, with levels, or just up your exposure slightly. But just try and lift this one as well, because it really is a lovely image.
Shark Cell Shop, Master Silver, Flower in a Stream, Merit Award.
Well, Jacques, congratulations on this award. I agree with it. So it's really one of those sort of super arty images. So obviously use some sort of filter, whatever, to create that movement. But in most cases, I'm not a fan of this, but in this case, it actually just holds that little yellow flower, and it's almost like cradled. This is the type of image that would do very well on the wall somewhere in somebody's office that loves flowers and grass. Exposure, everything just works wonderfully in this image. Well done.
Michelle Pearson, 5-star, My Space, Merit Award.
Yes, Michelle. Composition, really, really good. Love the wings outstretched. Love the fact that the eye is so bright and beautiful. And of course, the whites have been really, really well exposed. And then the birch that the subject is sitting on just adds value. It doesn't detract at all. Just gives you an anchor for the bird. And those wings stretched open like that, obviously about to fly, or it's just landed. It's really lovely. A well-deserved merit.
5-star, Flowers Bring Color in the World, Silver.
All right. 5-star, Silverwood. So what do we like about it? What do I like about it? I like the contrasting colors. I like the composition. I like the way it's placed in the frame. So why not a higher score? You look at the very bright highlights on the pedals, and that's all of it. And if you're going to continue or explore this type of genre, then you need to invest in some way, something that will diffuse the light. And either bounce the light somewhere or bounce it through some light-colored cloth or something, anything to just diffuse the light. And all of a sudden you'll have a completely different image and a far stronger image. Composition, everything else is right. Work on those highlights and you'll see a great result.
Michelle Pearson, 5-star, aiming for a landing, gold award.
Great. I just love it.
Michelle, I just love the angle. I just love the angle of this Lena. I love that determined look in its eye. It looked almost as if it's got its claws out and it's seen its prey and it's about to go and grab that prey. The wing's really sort of, or maybe it's about to land. But I really love the action. I love the storytelling value here. Super. Well done. It's a really lovely image.
Next category is portrait. Tim Gould, Master Bronze, Red Delight, Gold Award.
Well, Tim, nice. Well done on the Gold Award. This is one of those sort of soft, moody lighting images, and I really enjoy that. Our previous comment about the highlights and all that also applies if you look at the nose and the cheekbones and all that. And that's, again, just being able to bend the light or adjust it or whatever term you want to use. But that certainly will improve the image if you adjust that. And that's just working with the light and bending it, as they say. So one word of advice, and that's more personal opinion than anything, I think at the hand at the bottom does detract from it somehow. So being an open type image and portrait, you can tone that down. I'm not saying remove it completely, but I think just tone it down so it's not the same tone as a cheek roller, because my eye certainly jumps between the hand and the face. So see if you can work on that and work on the highlights of the cheek and the nose. Great pose. Beautiful model. Well done.
Four-star, Jackal arrested in fight, silver.
Yes, I love the action of this. You definitely press that shutter speed at the right moment, and you've got this beautiful action of Jackal. Your exposure is pretty good here. Your whites are blown out and all that sort of thing. But unfortunately, your focus wasn't on the Jackal itself and not on the eye. So you've got this burned sharp grass and foliage and all that, but the Jackal, especially the head, is not sharp enough. So it's unfortunately, it weakens the whole idea of the Jackal and the story, and the attention keeps on going to the grass here. So remember, you must get your main subject, particularly the eye and the head. That must be the sharpest part of your image. Usually. There are always exceptions, of course, but usually, particularly in wildlife.
Andres Borman, Master Bronze, Juvenile, Gold Award.
Well done, Buri. Nice portrait again. I like it when the bird looks over its shoulder, because that just adds more movement to it. So a great image. It's a nice portrait. The pose, the detail, nice and sharp. Eye holds one's attention. Great. I'm not sure if I like the square crop normally, but in this case, maybe lifted just above the shoulder blade and get it more of a portrait, then it could be stronger. A lot more chest and shoulder than there is of the actual head and the important part, the eye and the beak.
Next category is scapes. Master bronze, into the distance, silver.
I love the concept here. I really, really love that hazy background, the sky and those colors and the way the one color flows into the other. I really love that. But it jars when it goes against that pin sharpness of those three almost identical birds flying there. And I feel this has basically been put in the wrong category. And this is more an artistic image. It's not really a scape image. Because the birds are so sharp and your background, which you thought was the scape, is so muted and diffused, the subject in the story now is about birds. And now it's no longer a scape. So I think this should be ended in the visual or the artistic or the contemporary or something, and not as a scape. Or if we enter it as a scape, remove the birds and get a little bit more movement, and then you can have an abstract scape or something like that.
Master bronze, sea and rocks at sunrise, silver.
Just trying to go through my notes. Yeah, so this is one of those sort of really shots early morning where you get this pink glow. And the couple of issues I had is that the overall tone is just maybe too saturated, if that's the correct word. But it's just very, normally when you have those sort of orange skies, you bring out some detail in the clouds, and I do see some or sense some in the background. If there was more movement in the foreground and the water going around the rock, it would have given the image more sort of strength, other than just some rocks and all that. So I think it maybe need to desaturate a bit. That's certainly what I would try and see if I can get a little bit more out of the image.
Korean Barons, 5-star, Winter Shadows, Gold Award.
Oh, well done, Karina. This is really a fabulous scape. I really, really enjoyed the scape. It actually put a smile on my face. I love the fact that you've got it in sort of got segments. You've got that first segment, which is the bottom segment, where you have the vibrant colour and the texture and all that, and you've got that lone tree there, which becomes a focal point. It's nicely placed. Then you've got your second layer, which is like the purple and the shadows and detail and that. Then you've got your third layer, which is the snow-capped section, that suddenly becomes sort of like more mystical, whiter, and sort of like grey and diffused. So I just love the layers. I love the detail. Obviously, it's a really, really lovely lighting. So it looks like it was a great time of day to take this photo. And your composition is spot on. Your exposure is spot on. Well done.
Next category is the set subject, which was upside down. 5-star, be a woman with attitude, silver.
Yeah, look, so I suppose it depends on which way one looks at the brief, and that is upside down. So if the model is hanging with a tree branch or swing and all that, then it would have been an upside down image. But in this case, I think it's just a case of flipping the image upside down. But in this case, it actually works against you because you can actually see the paving behind it. But great, nice colors, interesting background on the wall. But that's why I didn't get a bit small mark.
Master bronze, upside world, silver.
Mm. Yes, I love the fact that this image, that the subject is absolutely thin sharp, and that you've got these lovely, lovely tonal values of this background as opposed to these greens. But unfortunately, I think the composition has let this image down considerably. Because first of all, your crop is far too close on the left. You've actually cropped off part of the leg there. It's so close there. And then you've got far too much space on the right-hand side. We do like negative space, but there's got to be a reason for the negative space. And there isn't enough sufficient reason for that. So I think if you change the crop on this image, it'll be totally different.
Master bronze, upside down, silver.
So, okay. So again, it's how one interprets the brief and all that. So when one can say, well, it works very well because I think what you've done is you flip the image. So where the reflection, the upper part is the actual reflection. I think. So exposure is great on that. The detail in the bird is great, the jippo, but I'm not quite sure if it actually meets the brief. And so the reflection is actually soft.
Torah Cell Shop, Master bronze, My Fine Feathers, Gold Award.
Yes, now this is different because you find your main subject here is much sharper, where you've got that there, whereas because I don't think it's been flipped. And I think this is truly a reflection, and that is definitely upside down. That is like, I'm not sure how it works because it must have been a reflection from an angle because normally it would come straight from underneath. So, but it works in this case, and it works really well. I love the colors, I love the exposure, and I felt that it hit the brief. You definitely have a subject with an upside down image of the same subject.
Well, it's just the same image that's rotated. If you look at the hill there, it's the hill there, and you look at this and there. So it's the same image that's been rotated and used on the bottom. Kathy K, Master Gold, Submissive Sibling, Gold Award.
All right. So that is a case of it being upside down. Whether I like the crop and all that, I think if you're going to crop, my opinion is crop tight. So I would have cropped the cup on its back, between the two paws, legs, and the cup on the right hand side. But certainly is upside down, great exposure and action. So the crop makes it a little bit uncomfortable.
Jacques Selshop, Master Silver, Upside Down, Gold Award.
Right, so, well, this definitely meets the brief. This guy is definitely flipped upside down. Love it. I love the exposure. I love the action. I love the stones and all, and it's really lovely. Jock, I feel this, you would have probably got a merit if you'd taken a little bit more trouble with these sticks on the left-hand side. Here on the bottom left, where you've cut it out and added it to your picture, it's been cut out quite untidily, and it's really obvious cut. So if you blend it more into the image itself, wow, this will just be absolutely amazing. So go and tidy this up, Jock, and this will be a really outstanding image.
Joan Darcy, 3-star. Upside down, almost perfect selection. Gold award.
Well then, Jean, yeah, it's again, it's a matter of opinion and all that. So what you've done is you've flipped the image. I think in this case, maybe I would have preferred it the right way up. Because the one's eye tends to look at the one that makes sense, the bird sitting upright, and then following down the reflection in the bottom. But great exposure, nice colors, and well processed.
Toy Skellen, 4-star, upside down, gold award.
Yes, so this is a genuine upside down. This is what they do when they have these shows. And these guys actually do perform these tricks and things with these motorbikes, and they're absolutely amazing. And the fact that Mark managed to capture this, press the shutter at the right time. I love the angle from the left to the right. So yes, well done, Mike. You have really met the brief here.
Doreen Behrens, 5-star, upside down, gold award.
Yeah, so well done, Corinne. Those beautiful mountainscapes always adds a lot of value, especially when there's water and you get these sort of reflections. So there's an upside down reflection, a true reflection of the scene behind the dam. Yes, it is. So in that case, it would meet the sort of requirements of that. Well handled, the exposure, the focus, nice and much.
Ian Taylor, Master Bronze, inverted, gold award.
Yes, well done, Ian. This guy is definitely upside down. At first, I thought to myself, oh, you should have cropped it closer. But then I realized if you cropped it closer, you wouldn't have been able to actually see the waves and actually work out that this guy was genuinely upside down. A closer crop, and it could just have been a flipped image again. So, yes, the exposure is really, really good. And you've met the brief. He really, really is upside down. Well done.
Julie Eisenbach, 2-star, I believe I can fly, gold award.
Well, Julie, it's a great way you've handled this brief. So it's an interesting image. You obviously had it hanging and then flipped it upside down. So when you look at the tackies that's hanging upside down, almost like a pair of balloons shaped like shoes. If you look at the way the hand's holding on it. So again, 2-star, great effort and well done. Nice to see people try different things.
Master Bronze, head down, silver.
Yes, this is actually a fantastic image. I mean, the exposure, the angle, everything else, really absolutely unbelievable in a nature image. But this bird is not upside down. So this author did not meet the brief, and that's why I didn't give it a high mark, and I could see the other judges didn't either. If the bird had been flying upside down, different story, but he's right-side up, and there's nothing upside down here.
LCB Dutoy, 5-star, glasses with lemon, gold award.
There we go. I've been unmuted, so I can say no better than yeah, nicely done, Elsie. I like the way you actually playing with the reflections on the glass. And the glass is upside down, and the only thing that makes sense, it tells you it's upside down, is that you have this orange or an archie that just adds a little bit of color and difference to the image. Just in this type of image and category, you can clean up and manipulate. So maybe just on the background, I would tone that down a bit, certainly get some of the shadows out, or tone it as dark as the shadows. The fact that you have the shiny foreground, that gives it a base to work from, and you can do better with this image in different categories. Well done.
Henry Oppo, Master Silva, Upside Down, Gold Award.
Well, Henry, you definitely met the brief. So well done. Actually, I love the action of this image. I love the simplicity of this image. I love the muted background. And I love the fact that in his effort to get the seed or whatever it is, he has turned his head right upside down. So, yes, well done.
Ian Taylor, Master Bronze, Upside Down, Gold Award.
Yeah, well captured. It's these kids do stupid things sometimes, and they'll probably regret it when they're our age. So the fact that you got this in the right sort of format to make it stronger, I think I would just tilt this a little bit. Maybe that's the dune was like that shape, and they do that to keep height. And when they do fall, they fall at an angle and slide instead of just plonk down. But I would sort of tilt this a little bit more to the right and level the ground a bit, and then it could be a completely different image, but well exposed and captured.
That's the last one.